Hey everybody, welcome back to Getting Ahead of Ourselves. Today I have a special guest star. It's not Kyle. Kyle's actually just part of the show.
I'm also
Kyle.
still here, though.
Thank you, Kyle. No, but today we have Matt Locke. Matt Locke, say hi.
Hello.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Matthew Ray Locke.
Is it?
Yeah, that's my full name.
Oh.
I was born in Los Angeles, California.
You were?
Yeah. In
Who is this man?
year of our Lord, 1991. Yes, I am approaching 30, everybody. Approaching 30.
You were born in California?
Yes.
We tricked you. We actually just had this on to learn a bunch of information about you that we didn't already know.
Regretting it already.
You got a social you want to share, just by chance?
666.
Oh. No.
420.
Yep.
69.
Is that enough numbers?
What?
Is that enough numbers?
I'm missing one.
All right. Anyway, so
Yeah.
we got some special topics that I specifically saved for Matt.
Oh, good.
Kyle knows one of them, so you rip.
I do, yeah. Not going into it completely blind this time, which might be the first time that's happened, actually. I think you've surprised me every single episode so far.
So I won't start off with a question this time. I'll just jump into it. But okay, so so a couple days ago, I was watching a TikTok, and it was a guy, and he was talking, and I've mentioned this vaguely to both of you, but he was talking about the word be and how it's a really important part of the language, like of English language, even though it's not necessarily something that we use all the time, like in speaking. And he was saying like how be is a tenseless verb, and that's what makes it so great and so like diverse, basically. And the example was it do be like that, which you can use in a past, present, and future tense. But yeah, so I was listening to him talk about that, and it got me thinking about the future of language and how much it changes all the time and what we're looking at moving forward. And it reminded me of, like, I know we're all the same age in this room, so I remember when, like, I existed in the days of, like, RAR.
Oh my God.
The good times, right?
RAR XD.
RAR XD, yeah. And when we would, do you remember the transition from, like, when we typed out LOL to, like, saying LOL? Were you guys...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
no,
for
I
sure.
remember I had the weird friends who would say it out loud, and we made fun of them relentlessly for doing exactly that. And now people just kind of do it.
So I think we seem to be gradually losing words. I don't have an opinion as to whether or not this is good or bad, but Rachel had posted a Facebook status, and someone it was about like being grammatically correct or whatever, but it was essentially the argument of like, why use more words when fewer words do trick kind of thing. And someone commented on it and talked about how like inappropriate it sounded, makes people sound stupid and uneducated or whatever. But I was like, what if it isn't though? What if it's almost verging hyper intelligent, because we're getting to a point where we no longer have to use all the words. We can actually just essentially read each other's minds because we only need to share like 2 words before someone knows exactly what you mean.
Yeah. So obligatory, none of us have any idea what we're talking about. The entire point of this podcast is that we just speculate wildly on the future of some scientific or social construct.
Oh, I do have a master's degree in etymology. Should I not be here?
Yes, if that's true, you should leave right now.
Great. This is not for you.
Just kidding. I went to art school.
Yeah, art school. The closest we've had, the closest person. That's actually why we don't have Ian on this episode.
Exactly.
Because Ian knows way too much about this subject.
Right.
Yeah.
But despite knowing way too much about this subject, Ian has always pointed out that like, if you can communicate, if what you were trying to communicate gets communicated, you've succeeded at language, right? Like it's very much like.
But is that Ian's opinion, or is that like true?
It's my opinion because it's Ian's opinion. I've definitely adopted it from him.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, to me, it's like language is a constantly evolving thing. I always thought, I don't know, I don't know if it's just because you think it's more serious as a kid, or if this has actually changed culturally, like at large as I've grown up. But in school, we were all taught very specific like rules on like how to English, right?
Yeah.
Including like don't say things like how to English.
Oh,
but then
sure.
it definitely became part of like our shared generation's culture.
Yeah.
To start intentionally breaking sentence structure. I don't know if it was like out of spite because of those old elementary school English classes and like
I feel like our
the things that we were
generation.
taught. Like I don't know, because it definitely became like part of like the internet speak, the way that people talk to each other, the way that like. Because it's funny, right? Like talking wrong is funny.
Wait, I
most
don't
of the
think
time.
I don't think it's because of humor. I
don't
think
think
our
so?
generation inherently exists to like break down like fundamental structures of things that have always been.
That's true.
We just really like doing that. We're like, oh, do you like this? I'm gonna ruin it. I'm just gonna F it all up. No more of the same thing anymore.
Well, it's more like it's. I think it's more on things like you made me pay. You made me do this even though I didn't care.
Right.
So now in return,
Okay, so here's
I'm going to not do it as hard as I possibly can.
here's my theory then. Here's my future theory, which is
Okay.
that eventually we will have to evolve into a society that no longer communicates in like standard English. Barely even speaks, because why would we need to? We're getting closer and closer to using less words. So in the future, how does society exist when we like don't even have to use all the words all the time? Does English class cease to exist? Is there any point anymore?
There was never a point to. The point of English class was never to teach us anything. It was to keep us occupied while our parents toiled in the factories. You know?
I can't tell if you're being serious.
I'm serious.
What do you
They're not
mean?
interested in teaching us anything, especially in public school.
Why do English speaking people have English class?
I don't actually. Yeah, is that a thing in like other cultures? Do do Spanish people have classes on how to speak Spanish properly? Like in Mexico, is that a real
Why does
thing?
that seem weird to me?
The whole like speaking properly thing just feels like
Is
a
that
very specific like Victorian like
Yeah, is that
you know,
related to racism? Because it
it
feels like one of those
100%
things
Yeah.
that's related to
100%
racism.
is.
I mean, it
100%.
definitely is, though,
It's a way
right?
to separate yourself from the common folk.
Yeah.
So wait, if that's true, then does this mean that there is no future where we don't speak, when we don't teach this because racism will never be eradicated, or is there a utopia in which racism no longer exists and therefore we no longer need to have this sort of like proper English mentality?
we've not once landed on the utopian future at the end of any of these episodes, but
What
I'm
if
willing
this is
to
it?
keep exploring it.
What if this is it, though? What if this is the utopia in which we no longer have English classes or racism? Because, unfortunately, those are very tied into to each other. So,
The only thing keeping us from Star Trek was English class the whole time.
okay, I don't know enough about Star Trek, but my brother says that all the time. Like, we'll never go the Star Trek route.
Do they all speak English in Star Trek? Or do they have translator devices?
I think they're all speaking English. I don't know if they're supposed to be speaking English or if it's like they're just doing it for our sake and they speak some weird like Esperanto language or something.
Yeah, I'm sure they covered it.
But they have I always thought it was interesting that like in Firefly, I thought they made a decent effort for like mid 2000s of like, oh, in the future it's gonna be like America and China are the big
Yeah.
superpowers, so we'll just smash them together, and they occasionally
You'll curse in Chinese. and
occasionally
stuff.
speak Chinese and have random Chinese stuff scattered around it with everything else.
For sure.
Yeah, but I think language evolving is natural, and like the whole speaking properly and making sure that your children speak properly is the unnatural thing.
Yeah. I
Okay.
haven't actually thought about it that way, but yeah, that is definitely just like an elitist thing, isn't
Yeah.
it? That's not real.
So like you guys know the story they tell you growing up, like the story of Babylon, like the children's story. And I don't know if this is
yeah.
actually
Tower of
biblical.
Babel?
Yes, the one where everyone spoke the same language and then somebody messed up, so God cursed them with like a bunch
Yeah, I
of
don't
different
remember what
languages.
It was more like, oh yeah, no, I remember they built the tower, and it was like it's like a hubris of man kind of story where
Yeah.
it's like they all spoke the same. It's like they were doing too well, and God went, no, you guys don't get to be that successful. Scatter, and then just like
Right.
made them all speak different
That
languages, so
just
they had
feels
to
like
leave.
some coked up prophet trying to like explain away why there's different languages.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't even
Yeah,
fit. That doesn't even like match Bible lore. Like that's just that doesn't even fit canon.
Yeah, that's just trying to what's the word for retroactively
retconning.
Yeah, that's in retconning.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay, so let's talk about the future of society and language. Where are we going to end up? Where do you guys see it going?
Why are you asking these questions?
No,
Well, tell-
'cause that's
tell
the
the
point of the
people.
podcast.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
tell the people.
Speculate
Oh,
wildly.
yeah. Okay, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, it's only speculative. No, you say you know what's going to happen, so what's going to happen?
No, I said no one knows. No,
I thought you just said we all know what's going to
no, I
happen.
said nobody knows.
Oh, well, if you had to guess.
We all sound very close together on the podcast, but we're actually sitting in opposite corners of a very large room.
I can't see Allison. She's actually around the corner from me.
That's a little tricky. Yeah, there's a lot of hallways in this house.
Only Allison has the headphones, so she can hear us all perfectly clearly.
It's true. It's not a problem for me.
Clearly. An author. Wow, words, huh?
Okay, so So my theory is that no need to even talk. We actually we will evolve, right, as humans into a society that no longer needs words to communicate. We can just basically psychically read. Why don't we all just actually switch to sign language? Seems like a better idea anyway.
Because sound
Sometimes
is
you're not
easier
looking at
in many
somebody.
situations.
You ever shouted at someone from another room?
You can shout in sign language. You guys ever seen somebody shout
But
in
not
sign
unless
language?
you're within eyeshot.
Well, yeah.
I can't yell. I can't sign to you from my office to come into my office.
You could knock.
Yeah, but then I got to get up.
Okay, fair. Fair enough. So do we revert back? Do we get like following the ways of humanity
Well, I mean,
and history? Do we revert back to even more
so
words? Like, do we go full
language-
on like back to Shakespearean, or what's going to
Language
happen?
Came out of. I think if anything, language gets more complicated, not less complicated.
You think it's more complicated now than Shakespearean?
Yeah. First off, no one talked like Shakespeare wrote. That wasn't a thing.
I know,
That's
but
not how people spoke to each other at the time.
You know what? You say that, but I've read books.
In the same way, no one now speaks like they're rapping to each other.
Have you read the King James version of the Bible?
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Only like 10 people were taught how to write per society. And they wrote. Like, writing wasn't the same as like talking. Like,
I bet
you
they were all white
specifically
men too.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
But like you specifically used like flowery language because it was an art form and only a few people knew how to do it. Now we make YouTube comments and text at I don't know what I'm trying to say. We write a lot more and there's no reverence to writing.
So you think
So
okay? So
people
you
just write the way they talk, and then we end up talking the way we write. I think that's actually a really important reason that language has evolved the way it has over the past few decades is that people are now communicating with each other in these truncated forms of writing online so much, and then we imitate those writings in our speech.
Yeah, and it's not all chaos. Like only the good ones stick around. It's not like every bit of grammatically incorrect YouTube comment style writing that
Right.
catches on with the culture.
Well,
It's only
People
like-
stop saying pwned at some point, thank
Yeah.
God. So like most things drop away at some point.
well, so that's really interesting. Like, why would some things stick? Is it so? I know a lot of things stick because
yeah.
they're funny, but
I do think humor helps them spread to begin with. I think they probably stick around because it's probably just more convenient than the other options we
and
had.
lol is just way easier to say than LMAO.
So I
like,
have another.
friends.
Yeah.
I have another theory too. So I grew up in a relatively like non-diverse childhood. Like I was surrounded by people who looked and acted like me. I was surrounded by mostly white people in the same like financial class system. And I didn't start hearing like different ways to say things until social media like existed in my life, until I like got on the internet.
Yeah.
And then I met other people who said different things, and I immediately thought they would either be like funny or super strange. But I didn't like anything that wasn't grammatically correct English. I was like, that's just bad technically, just because it's not what my English teacher taught me in 4th grade, because that's like the last time you ever take that class.
Yeah.
So if society keeps growing into a more diverse society where we have access to people who are not exactly as ourselves, like we mix class systems and different racial groups and different gender identities, and they're around each other more and more, then language will evolve to reflect that. And then does anything ever sound weird ever again?
Yeah.
Like what does that look like?
Yeah, maybe not within English, but foreign accents will always be hilarious.
Okay, fair. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't picture a future where a French accent isn't funny.
What is it? What?
Yeah, no. That's definitely, I think that's just sort of the French's problem, though.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I think, like, the world definitely agreed, like, don't make fun of everybody, but
Make fun of
always
the
make
French.
fun of the French. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think that's going to change. Even the
Yeah.
French don't like the French.
There's
It's
definitely a
just
few
true.
people that for some reason it's like stayed mildly okay to make fun of.
Okay, but
French and Russia in particular seem to like be like just still fair game.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you specifically said that language is going to get more complicated. What do you mean by that?
Because I mean that I can go on TikTok now and not know what the hell people are saying. and it's people from my same culture.
Yeah.
But just like 5 years below me, like 5 years younger than me.
Right.
And I still don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
And we live in a world where I'm completely capable of like seeing everything change every single day.
Yeah.
But
So
I think the sheer number of people is still going to make it so. I think you're going to have a lot of cross cultural like contamination in a way, like the of language, the way you're talking about, where like you pick up different things from different people because of the fact that all these different little isolated corners are now connected to each other.
Yeah.
People are going to start picking up things from each other, and then it's just going to mix even more.
So
it's going to be. I think it's still going to be just as diverse, except that the diversity isn't going to be reliant on like geographical location anymore.
yeah.
So
You know what this is reminding me, I'm really curious, like, I didn't know growing up that I was going to have to learn new words. Like, I thought that all the words were just sort of, like, done and
you thought
determined.
they told you all the words in school, and you
I just didn't know that, like yeet, right? That just, like, happened. And
Yeet?
yeet.
You didn't think people were gonna make new words?
Oh, leet.
Yeah. No, yeet.
Oh, yeet.
Like, you yeet something. And so I was like, I didn't expect that, right? That was like one of the first words where I'm like, am I old? What has happened? Like, how did I miss the development of a new word that is obviously like crucial to society right now? But now it just exists, right? Like, that's just a word now. We know what yeet means. Everyone knows how to use it. It exists as a word. And I just like I didn't expect that. I didn't expect new words to just like happen as I'm just like chilling and somebody says something and I'm like, what is that word? Tell me what that word is. I'm so out of the loop now because you've just said a word and I just don't know it.
Yeah, I don't see your utopian future of like the language all melting together in a melting pot and becoming just like
No.
no. I think if anything, if we continue on our current path, we will become even more atomized, and we will have even more little like pockets of like all the TikTok teens will talk one way, all of the Reddit
Yeah.
dweebs will talk the other way.
Yeah, that's really what it's going to be diversified by, is like what service online do you use?
Yeah, like we don't talk to each other. No one goes outside
Right.
and speaks to each other anymore. Like the culture we're not going to mix more if we continue on this path. We will become
Okay.
Wall-E in the Wall-E chairs with our little screens, and someone will be next to us, but we won't acknowledge them.
Instead of a French accent, it's going to be the Reddit accent. Like you're going to have like accent like dialects specific to like whatever internet service you use to talk to everybody.
Yeah, or whatever inside jokes like our parents don't know what yeeting is.
That's true.
Not because of their age. It's just because they're not in the same like
That's a really interesting point,
ecosystems
actually.
as us.
I don't really remember a lot about the people of Wally's, other than that, like they had like the little floaty wheelchairs, basically.
Yeah.
But like, I guess I could kind of see that basically a society that's like separated into social media cliques.
Yeah, because we grew up in a time where TV was still like the thing where like you and all your friends watched Comedy Central and you went to school the next day and talked about the South Park episode or whatever. Like that's done.
Yeah.
Kids don't have like the one thing they talk about. Even if every teen is on TikTok, they all follow different accounts and maybe they know what Charlie D'Amelio's up to, but maybe the other one's on, I don't know, slime TikTok where they just pour slime on Elsa or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
How did
Because that was the thing with YouTube too. Actually, when it first came, like I remember, like YouTube was a lot of people tried to treat YouTube like a unified thing, but even like as of like 2012 on, it was like if you watched YouTube videos, you could be talking about anything. You know, you could be talking about sketch stuff, you could be talking about vlogs, gaming, whatever. And I think at this point, people now recognize it as, YouTube is just a platform where people upload anything, and like it's not. Like I think it's much more. Well, like TikTok has existed for what, like a year maybe in its current form.
I mean, like 3 years, but it wasn't popular.
I mean, it was Musically first. Like TikTok as we know it isn't that old.
Yeah.
But it's already self-divided, right? Like people, like even on TikTok, they're like, oh, you've made your way to lesbian TikTok or whatever.
Or like you only follow the verified accounts of the hot teens or whatever.
there's straight TikTok and there's gay TikTok. Let's be clear.
Is it not so subdivided yet that it's
No.
But it's specifically lesbian TikTok.
It's just consumer culture and advertising is getting so much better at giving you exactly what you want that we will not exist in like common spaces anymore. We'll
Right.
find our particular little thing,
You know what
exist
this
in that space and never leave it.
You know what this actually kind of reminds me of? I don't know if this is a useful tangent to go on for this topic at all, but so if it's not, I apologize.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of the mentality of picking a church. I don't know if you've had this same experience in your life, but
Yeah, Matt, have
My
you?
mother
anybody-
certainly did.
for anybody who hasn't like been religious in their life, there's definitely like a thing within like Protestant American Christianity where you're kind of expected to go to church every Sunday. It's the tradition of being a
wait, hang
Christian.
on.
It's like bare
Hang on.
minimum you go to church once a week.
I just realized Matt's microphone is backwards.
Can you not hear me?
I can hear you. It's just backwards.
Is this good? Can you
Oh.
hear me so much better now?
Did it change?
Yeah.
I was doing it like this before. Is this
No.
even worse?
Yeah.
You guys can see me.
You're supposed to talk like at the words.
I've never done a podcast.
Okay, so there.
Well,
So
moving on. It's too late. It already happened. Anyway,
Right.
if you're a white Christian in Texas, at the very least, you pick a church that you go to, and you go to the same church.
Right.
And there's conversation. If you move to a new city, it's like a thing that's like, oh, I gotta find the new church, and it's gotta be the one that like meshes with me.
Yeah.
That I like the message, and I like the pastor, and I like the people who
Very
are there,
difficult.
and like, and it's finding an echo chamber basically. It's never actually like exploring or trying to expand your understanding of the religion. It's just like, where do I feel safe and comfortable?
Yeah,
Because they're saying what I already know back at me every week and reaffirming everything that I think.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing that's happening with what you were talking about with like the advertising and all the stuff online, is all these little sub communities started, and everyone just picks the things that they feel comfortable with and they stay there.
Yeah.
And they get advertised to within those spaces of the things that they already know that they like, and no one actually like branches out anymore.
Yeah,
And so
and-
I think, yeah.
Churches are like a substitute for the community that we lost when capitalism brought its bulldozer and leveled our,
Yeah.
It's like for the entirety of human civilization, you just like lived in the community you were stuck with.
Right.
And like you had to get along with those people, marry those people, and like deal with the social consequences of being around people that maybe you didn't agree with and maybe you didn't like.
True.
But like you were stuck with them because you had to survive together. And now it's like we can just shave off all adversity and just exist with only people who agree with us.
I guess that's what
in every aspect of life.
It's a pretty similar setup actually, except that now you get to pick your niche group instead of just being assigned one at birth.
I
And
never
so
really
it's
thought
even-
about this. This is an interesting tangent of basically like the language idea brought us to the concept that we will actually be even more divided, but by different standards
Yeah.
in the future. Like, I think that's really
Because
interesting.
each
I
pocket
hadn't
is
really
definitely going to
considered
develop
that.
their own methods of communication.
Yeah.
like and then it's going to be and it's going to be it's arguably going to be even more isolated than if you were like what you were saying, than if you were like just born into a village or something that you're stuck in, because you get to you choose an echo chamber, so everybody agrees with each other.
Just like
And
this
it's
is just
even-
like killing me. Like, okay, son, we're part of the Reddit community. we do not associate with the TikTok community. Stay within your kind. Like
Son,
like,
come over here. I'm gonna give you a gift. You just turned 16. Giving you my Reddit account. I've had it since 2014. And
the idea of social media racism is insane to me.
I would like to preemptively put a trademark on the eventual Romeo and Juliet remake with a TikTok girl and a Reddit boy.
Yo. Okay,
we'll never
does
understand each other.
that story have to happen between like rival societies no matter what though?
Yeah,
Okay. I mean that's fine.
that's the whole point.
It's the worst story. It's the worst story I've ever heard. I just can't get. I mean, it's super tangent. I just can't get over that story because they're like 12. They're like 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
They're like 12-year-olds that committed suicide, and everyone's like, "This is the most romantic story ever written."
There's other like West Side Story is the same thing. It's just
don't know that
opposing gangs in New York. Like it's just
Oh sure.
it's the star-crossed lovers story.
Well, okay.
Got to be
So
one for every generation.
I've learned now that I started this topic on the wrong concept. Language was too abstract. We could only establish what people would do, and then we can sort of hypothesize how language will evolve. But But the idea is that we break off into different cliques, and then we have different forms of communication through those things.
This is just a public service announcement. It's dangerous because like humans are notoriously bad at numbers and like size, and like, you know, like anthropologists say we only ever existed in tribes of like less than 100, like in the mid 90s, because anything over that just gets crazy. And so it's very easy when you live in your little Reddit or TikTok bubble for you to think that that's just how the world is. It's like, this is just the world. But like, boy, oh boy, it's the iceberg thing. You are experiencing so little of the diversity of humanity.
Yeah. Well, actually, and to bring it back around to language, just for the sake of like podcast coherency.
Oh, sure.
I wonder if that will actually make things like marketing more difficult. Because then, like, you can't, like, it's going to get harder and harder to, like, mass market to a bunch of people.
You just have to do...
everybody has their own little bubble world and own methods of, like, communicate. Like if we're talking, like, way in the future to the point where, like, everybody's self-isolated within their own little group, even if not physically, if, like, online, everyone's only talking within their own little groups and has their own experiences and own, like, relations. It's going to basically it's going to end up like back where we were, and you're not really going to be able to like mass market to like Americans, right? Because now there isn't Americans. Now there's people who are part of like the community around this one particular TV show or this one particular service.
I think the algorithms are too smart to ever for that to
maybe
have
computers
be a
will
problem.
keep up with this and it won't be a problem.
Well, I was actually just thinking that reminds me that the best degree you can get now probably is marketing degrees, because at some point you're just going to learn to study.
Yeah.
Each different one, like
that's going to be like a really high skilled job in the future.
It kind of
is now, I guess, but
because there's like one guy now who studies like different cultures. We learn a lot about him, and we're like, wow, what a smart dude. And that guy's going to exist in the future. He's going to be like, this is how the Redditors exist. This is how the TikTokers exist.
Marketing and anthropology will combine.
But wait, you know what? I'm confused. You know what? Wait, I disagree with this theory though. I'm not sure that this would actually happen. Wouldn't it have already happened? We already have all the different social media platforms. We're not all separated by those. We all use all of them. So, like, why would we just separate into clips
I feel
based
like we're
on...
still in the early days of this.
You think so?
Yeah, and we use all of them, but within each one is like, you know...
So you're, like, bilingual if you, like, jump between them,
like, you exist in your corner of TikTok, your corner of Reddit. Like, just because you use both doesn't mean that you're, like...
I'd argue in the last 4 years, we've seen a shift in people really buckling down hard on only the things they like and want to hear and ignoring everything else outside that bubble.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're still young, and we remember a time before the internet, so like we're just at the beginning of this.
That's true. I guess that's a good point. I think the best example of this is like phones. Like I use phones as a way to remember like
you
how
do be
far
on that phone.
No, just like I remember when my phone and my internet were the same thing, and like so when I tell that to people, they have no idea.
Wait,
I'm sorry,
what does that mean?
Sorry when.
Like when getting on the internet, you used the phone line, like you had to dial into the internet.
Right. Yes, that is what I mean.
You had to call Bill Gates and be like, E-bombs world, please.
Right, like we had to, like the TV would pause because the phone would ring, and like it would like show because it was all the same
it was
thing.
Also like the cable line was all the same.
Right, we had a home phone. Wire. I guess
we basically got through. Basically all through public school with like still having mass culture exist, where like we still watched TV and we did like the Lost was on.
Yeah.
We had to see the season finale of Lost.
I guess that's what I'm talking
about.
Is like the only things that could permeate everybody were very specific things that like, because like everyone is like, you had a TV or you didn't. These are the shows on that TV.
Yeah.
And everyone, if you have anything in common with anyone, it's this one thing. That's it. But now it's so easy to like distribute things to specific groups of people that like, it's like I can, it weirdly like things, I have less in common with the larger whole now, but I have more in common with like, it's easier to find specific groups of people that I have things in common with.
Sure.
I guess that's what it is. That's kind of the trade-off. You can find smaller groups of people who you have everything in common with, but then you have less and less in common with the average person, like at large, which I think just means we're reverting back to the tribes you just described.
Yeah.
So that's where it's okay. So in the future we go backwards. For this, some things we go all the way forward, and then some things we revert back to like more Anyway, it doesn't
I
matter.
don't know if revert is the right word. I think we've just like been the same creatures for, however many hundreds of thousands of years we've been Homo sapiens.
That might be
and
true.
we just adapt to the circumstances around us.
We just really only want to be with small groups of people like we always have been.
Yeah,
so
we always
just,
do the same
We
stuff.
just seek it out within the new framework of society that
They
exists.
they were skipping stones down at the river 100,000 years ago,
This is a really interesting topic that I'm going to write down because I actually really disagree with this mentality. So I do. So I'm going to write it down real fast. Anyway, you guys have to talk while I'm doing this because then it's just silence. So say something. Actually, Kyle, go ahead and wrap us up because I think we're about done. So
Okay. Yeah. So,
Kyle is communicating in the new future language.
Yeah,
of
this is the new.
I know what every one of those "us" means.
yeah.
So Matt, I don't know if you've listened to this podcast before, but I have somehow, for 7 episodes, brought the conversation back around to Buddhism at the end of every one. I don't even remember why that started, but
Who
for some
knows?
reason I did it in the first episode, and I said I was going to do it every episode after that, and I've managed to do it every single time.
Yeah.
But I'm blanking right now on how to tie this back into Buddhism. Help me out.
No. Whoa.
No, I'm calling on our guest. I'm using a lifeline.
All right. Okay.
Well, Buddhism is all about speak softly and carry a big stick. No, that's not it. That's not it.
The most famous Buddhist of all time, Teddy Roosevelt.
When you're meditating, you're not speaking. The most advanced form of language.
Exactly.
Silence.
I'll take it.
Yeah, we got there.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That was a solid Matt transition to Buddhism for sure. All right. Well,
I mean, if you want, never mind.
we all look at our
But at
watch.
the very end, actually, I just want to kind of throw in real fast to anybody. Thank you for listening to this podcast. I think this is episode 8, and we've recorded a few of these. And when we were recording them, I don't really pay attention to the fact that people will be listening to them later.
Yeah.
But they seem to be doing okay. People seem to be enjoying them, and
Yeah.
we're getting we get good YouTube comment responses.
It's really, I
And-
feel bad though, because I feel like a lot of people who listen to the podcast are way smarter than we are.
Oh yeah, for
So,
100%. My
every-
favorite part of this is reading everybody's actual answers in YouTube comments after
Right.
we've butchered whatever it is we're talking about.
Right.
Well,
we
people's
did-
favorite thing to do is to listen to a podcast where they know more than the people are on the podcast are.
This is the this
That's
is
like
the
my
podcast
favorite
for
feeling in
you.
the world is that kind of thing. So
This is
You're
easily
welcome.
but we did one the other day where I was talking about oh, I have a great idea. How about you kill somebody and then take their place in society? And then Kyle just proceeded to tell me why that was the dumbest thing I've ever thought of in my life.
That sounds stupid.
Which fair, yes, I was proven wrong very fast. And the Santa Claus got involved, but then there was a comment.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That was the whole podcast.
that's that movie, isn't it?
That was my
knows
immediate
exactly what it
response. Was you're describing the Santa Claus?
It worked out for Tim Allen. So.
But one guy commented who I guess studies cultures and was like, "Oh, this is
Yeah.
a thing that some cultures do just to a smaller degree than what Allison's talking about."
Right.
And then we just learned shit. We
Yeah.
just learned them because he was like, "Why did he bother listening? He is so much smarter than us."
Yeah.
I just can't.
No, that was great. I
I'm
love
glad
video
he's
stuff.
here. If he's hearing this, I hope.
Anyway,
he
I just
sticks around.
wanted to say hi to the people listening because I don't think we've ever actually talked directly to the people that it's mostly you and I turn on the microphones and then
For
we
sure.
just have a conversation with each other.
But now we've been talking about
and
language.
then we publish it on but it's never I don't know. I don't think we've ever actually directly spoken to the audience. So hi audience, thanks for listening. Just wanted to throw that out there. We are aware that you're listening to this nonsense.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Oh, I'm sorry too, but anyway, that's it for this episode. Leave ideas for what you guys want to hear in the future in the comments.
Yeah.
Talk about Matt. Matt was here. It was exciting to have Matt on the show. So go ahead and just leave comments about Matt. Any comment about Matt.
Tell me what you really think about me. My physical appearance. Be honest.
Yeah. Well, they can't see you in this one.
They can Google me. I'm the number one.
true.
I'm the number one slot
That's
on
true.
Google.
That was
Images.
impressive. That's a reference that they won't understand.
I think we'll have
Anyway,
Matt
Inside
back
joke.
for one more episode at least after this.
Yeah,
so
he's gonna be-
come back in 2 weeks for the next episode. We do this every 2 weeks, and
Yeah.
we'll see you then.
all right. Yep. Thanks everybody.
Bye.
Bye.